With us, and I can't tell you how many times we have done an O.J. Simpson show. I think I've lost track. We must be in the 40s at this point in time. But I'm going to put Tyreek on the spot here because he actually said he thought O.J. could have walked away from this if his ego would have allowed him to plead, and he wouldn't do it. And you were right. Here he is. He's facing jail time for the rest of his life.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Unlike other defendants or people that are accused that may have been acquitted of crimes, other people don't have the publicity that O.J. Simpson had. And so you can have an individual that may have beaten a homicide and then get charged with another crime and have a fair trial because the judge will exclude that charge from ever being brought up, the fact that they were tried again. And O.J., you'd never have that. And because you didn't have that, his best defense would have been to negotiate something so that he could see the streets once again.
But you give Tyreek credit, Chuck, because you say he pointed out O.J.'s ego was bigger than this whole thing, and now once and for all, it may come back to bite him in the butt.
Well, Tyreek and I agreed on one thing at the last time we did this show, and that is it should be a plea. And I thought he was going to plead because of the video and the audio tapes. I mean, when you're in a telephone booth with an elephant, don't say, "What elephant?" It's stupid. Stupid. But Tyreek said his ego won't let him plead. I thought he was going to plead because it's ridiculous to take it to trial.
Well, I can't have the two of you agreeing very often because then the fearsome foursome is just a twosome that gets along. Who the heck wants to watch that? Okay, Jeff.
I mean, I have to agree. I mean, after all, yeah, we all agree it was his arrogance. We all get these kinds of cases. You look at the charges themselves. The penalties are horrific. Forget about the crimes. The penalties are horrific for kidnapping and robbery. It's a matter which the other four defendants are so pled guilty. There's a tape of it. You make a deal. And if he would have made a deal, he would have made a deal for a very reasonable plea sentence. But now the judge is forced to say, no, you got convicted of kidnapping, you got convicted of robbery, you're going to go away.
All right, but Sadie, you got to explain this to me. Kidnapping, I mean, when I think of a kidnapping, this is not what I think. This sounds more like unlawful restraint or just some guy trying to act like he's hot stuff when his best days are behind him.
I couldn't agree with you more. When we all conceptually think of a kidnapping, we think of taking a person from one place, bringing them to another place, and holding them against their will. This was an episode that took place solely within the confines of a hotel room. No one was moved. It was an unlawful restraint. But I got to tell you something. You know, we're talking about plea bargaining, and we're making an assumption. A plea bargain is a contract. So what does that mean? That means there has to be an offer, and there needs to be an acceptance. We are all assuming that the DA's office said, well, we would be interested in talking about something.
But why wouldn't they do it with him when they did it with all of the other
players? Then there's your unfairness, because if they offer deals to these other scumbags and they don't offer a deal to O.J., there's your unfairness right there.
Well, the unfairness is C.J. Stewart.
Right.
There is no way on this side of the planet that he should have been tried with O.J. Simpson.
And his lawyers are appealing on that ground.
And second thing, he didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of coming out of that courtroom any other way than the way that he actually went in there, and that is being guilty by association.
But if we go back to what point Sadie was just making, the fact that the perception that a lot of people and maybe the viewers at home have of kidnapping, this doesn't seem like it fits it.
Right.
So a lot of people think that it was bogus to charge him with this to begin with.
What the viewers have to understand is that every state has a different definition of kidnapping. In New Jersey, it's moving them an appreciable distance. In Pennsylvania, you have to bring them from one location to another. In Nevada, if you look at their statute, if you hold them against your will, it meets the definition. So it's not what you would grow up and know of kidnapping, but every state is different.
But that's beside the point. The point is basically most district attorney's offices, with all due respect to, I was a former assistant district attorney, but with all due respect to them, they charge an enormous amount of crimes when you have a certain fact pattern. If they can charge it, they charge it. Right. Then you whittle it down as you go to trial or you negotiate or you have a preliminary hearing and some of the charges are dropped and others are held. It's clear that they were out to get O.J. There's no doubt about that.
That's right.
And they wanted to charge him with the most serious charges because under their statute they could have. Whether it was fair, I don't think it was. But they did. And I don't buy the Sunday conference with the jurors. That's crap. The bottom line is each and every one of those particular jurors had already in their mind what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. They didn't go over it and over it. Stop the nonsense. He was convicted when he went into that courtroom with his arrogant self and decided that he thought 12 people, 14 people, his family would have convicted him.
I have to ask very quickly before we take our first break, there were no African Americans on this particular jury. Yay or nay, you think it made a difference?
Well, you see, I
Yay
don't
or
know.
nay, I'm taking a break.
I don't know.
If you want to see more of this episode of It's Your Call, you can with Comcast On Demand. Using your Comcast cable, go to Channel 1, get local, CN8, and then choose It's Your Call, CN8. On air, online, and on demand.